Welcome to Leadership Synergized, where we explore the depths of effective leadership in high-pressure environments. Hello, my friend. I'm Kevin Smith. Today, we're diving into my unique still mindset framework designed to help individuals unlock their full leadership potential when it matters most. And I'm thrilled to be joined by my good friend, Dr. Leslie Winter, a brilliant mind in the field of leadership. Dr. Winter will guide us on this transformational journey and through our discussions. Get ready to discover actionable insights that will change the way you lead. Let's jump in, my friend.
Dr. Smith, we've had some really outstanding conversations around your mindset in general, but how important that still mindset is. Give us some insight in this episode on what that still mindset does, how it impacts a team dynamics and the overall organizational culture.
Dr. Winter, great question. It is so important to have that still mindset within a team dynamic or structure for, if no other reason, this one. There's a level of consistency and confidence which equals stability. Gallup did a number of researches over time, and they found that followers are looking for four things from their leaders. They want hope, they want compassion, but they want trust, but they also want stability. So while there's always uncertainty, right? There's a degree of uncertainty in any and every organization, family, followers, and the organization, the team, they want stability. Practicing, committing to develop a habit, and using the still mindset framework allows a team dynamic to be one that is stable and consistent, even through times of uncertainty.
That goes back to a little bit when you talk about culture and uncertainty and just how important building that culture is. Tell us some ways that you build that still mindset culture in a team dynamic. How do you start that on day one with your team?
I think number one, it does go back again to that awareness and value and that understanding of yourself, knowing yourself as a leader and being very open about who you are. And then, quite honestly, walking the talk you've given them. Too many times today, leaders talk it, but it's not walked. Too many times organizations will state it, but it's not walked in a consistent manner. Leaders who back up their values, and I'm not talking about they're always going to have people agreeing with them. I'm not talking about making decisions or leading where everybody, it's not going to happen. Our experiences dictate we're going to have different views, different opinions. That's wonderful. That's what we want on a team. But being consistent, being open, sharing why decisions were made, sharing the experiences that one has had, that I have had, you have had with your team, allows them to become very comfortable. They know what they're going to get. Dr. Winter, I've had multiple experiences in my life to where leaders one day were different than they were the day before, going by just the mood of the moment. Perhaps they received a reprimand from a superior over something that occurred the day before, the hour before. Their mood changes. Perhaps a large customer had made a decision on not placing a purchase order with the company. Their mood changes. What typically happened in that regard? That mood got its way all the way through the team. And again, to my comment we had in a recent episode, the team, the organization will take on the personality of its leader. And if that leader isn't providing a stable environment, in other words, if people don't know what they're going to get, then that fear, that threat mindset is more likely to occur than if a leader's very open with who they are. They step into a role as a part of a team, whether it's a follower or a leader, and they're very open about who they are. It's so important that in that environment, that leader ensures his or her voice is a component, but at the same time, they give the same level of value to every other voice on the team.
One thing you talked about is it's a tough word to bring up, and you called it reliable, consistent. But let's just be honest, it's accountability.
Absolutely.
That accountability piece is just so essential for effective teams. And how does that still mindset, how does accountability fit into the still mindset, knowing that you've talked about you have to create that trust?
Yeah, I think number one, I would turn accountability to where the still mindset ensures that it can ensure that accountability is seen as a positive thing. To what you're talking about in our world today and in many organizations, we hear the word accountability when there's somebody that people want to blame for something not going as somebody else felt it should have, right? What if we looked at accountability as a positive thing? Because the moment we're hired, the moment we have a spouse that says, I do, we are accountable to other people. The moment we have children, we're accountable to them. It may not be a written contract that says you are now accountable for this, but that's what we want as leaders. That's what we pursue. Many times I think leaders see this larger salary, so I'll take that job. What they miss is the moment you take that job, you're agreeing to a wider span of accountability. But that's a positive thing because that accountability provides opportunities, challenges for growth for you as a leader and for your team. Because if you take on those challenges, meet them, and grow your value, guess what? You got more value to give others. And Dr. Winter, I'm in a group that is so blessed to be able to be mentored by the great John Maxwell during 2026. In our last session, John really brought something forward that I would like to share here. Full credit to John, but it makes so much sense to what you're stating. John has stated, and I wholeheartedly agree, everything worthwhile is uphill, right? It's that journey uphill that we grow through. That's where significance is at. So if my arm becomes the hill, and as John alluded to, the moment that you're a leader, the hill gets a little steeper, it gets a little higher. But you know what? The moment that your leadership and accountability expands, that hill gets even larger and steeper. But that's a positive thing. We would not want or feel that we have an opportunity to grow. Quite honestly, a faith-based look, we wouldn't be living out God's purpose if everything was downhill.
Exactly. Now, that just leads us to the toughest question. You got a team of 6 people. 5 of them are just thriving. Let's be honest, thriving looks different. It's a constant uphill climb. But you got one that just continually is just the naysayer. Tell us in that still framework, how would you address that as a leader? What are some practical skills you can give everyone in a situation like that, knowing that everyone's watching to see how the leader deals with that one person?
Yeah, I think what a great scenario that happens quite often, right? And in many settings that we're facing today, in particular, today being 2026 post-COVID, there are individuals who are thrust into expanded leadership responsibilities they never anticipated having, maybe even before they felt like they were prepared to take them on. So your question is very relevant, Dr. Winter. But the still mindset in that setting, if I was that leader, would simply be this. I would first begin with a conversation. If you recall, in one of the recent questions, Dr. Winter, in a recent episode, the number one thing for the still mindset, a leader's got to love themselves. That one individual on that team, doesn't matter if they've got the same title as the organizational or team leader may have, but the first thing I would inquire at is, where is your love for self? Because if you don't love self, you're not going to be able, if you don't love self to the level that we need you to as a member of the team, you're not going to be able to lead self, nor are you going to be able to influence self in that sequence. And I would first open up the door and parameter to help, educate the individual, but the team on those values that are at play in loving, leading, and influencing self. and then work with that individual on the pathway forward in that setting. Now, through that discussion, you may find that individual is quite honestly not the right fit. Maybe there's another right fit, a better fit for that individual in that setting. But the thing about stability and the piece that we talked about just a little bit ago here, Dr. Winter, to your question, when we're consistent and we open up and allow and ensure the team understands that we want their voice, we need their experience, we're there for one another. Teams that don't get to know each other's strengths, that don't get to understand or appreciate the value that everybody brings, is where petty jealousies will come into play, and that will drive the team the wrong direction.
Okay, knowing that this is probably going to be the final question of this episode, but what are some reflection questions should leaders ask themselves to start evaluating their professional and personal journey effectively?
Yeah, some reflective questions. If it's a personal journey, and these are the same questions, is look for each day two areas. One, to learn something about yourself. Secondly, to have someone you can bring value to. So questions such as, what can I learn about me today? Who can I bring value to today? And then ask themselves, how can I use what I learned about me? Did I bring value to that individual today? And that value may be a relationship development. Maybe it's a question that says, whom do I need to develop a greater value with today? That one person in your previous question, Dr. Winter, could well be an individual that I haven't as a leader developed the right level of relationship. That's on me. That's not on him or her in that piece. Those type of questions will lead to greater degrees of growth, opportunities, and growth itself.
Yeah. One thing you just emphasized is that what you've said in all 5 episodes, or 6 maybe, you're self-reflecting what you provided that individual to make sure you were supporting them in reaching their growth. And I just think that's outstanding. And then how that affects the entire team.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Leadership Synergized. I hope you found value in our discussion on the Still Mindset framework. Remember, leadership thrives in the face of pressure. We're here to help you navigate those challenges in those high pressure moments and environments. Don't forget, subscribe and share this episode with anyone looking to lead with confidence. Join us next time as we get into more insights. And until then, stay synergized.